Two American men sat in a cheap hot room in Tampico, Mexico. Their names were Dobbs and Curtin. They were broke, dirty, and desperate for work. They had come to Mexico to find jobs in the oil fields, but now the work was finished. They had no money and no hope. Every day, Dobbs and Curtin walked around the city, asking for any little job they could find. They were often hungry. A man they didn't know sometimes gave them a few coins, but it was never enough. One day, they finally got a short job laying tracks for a railway. The boss was a cruel American named Pat McCormick. He promised to pay them well after the job was done. After a long, hard day of work, they went to a cheap boarding house to sleep. There, they met an old, talkative man named Howard. Howard had been a gold prospector his whole life. He told them wild stories about hunting for gold in the mountains. "Gold is a devil," he said with a crazy look in his eyes. "It changes men. They find it, and then they start to distrust each other. They become afraid, then greedy, then mad. I've seen it many times." Dobbs and Curtin laughed, but they were interested. They had nothing to lose. Finally, their railroad job was finished. They went to McCormick to get their pay, but the boss laughed at them. He refused to pay. He even got his men to throw Dobbs and Curtin off the property. The two friends were furious. They had worked so hard for nothing. That night, they were luckier than they deserved. Dobbs bought a lottery ticket with his last coin, and he won a small prize. It wasn't a fortune, but it was enough. With money in their pockets, they remembered old Howard's stories about gold. They found him and asked him to be their partner. They would use the lottery money to buy tools, supplies, and train tickets to go deep into the Sierra Madre mountains. Howard agreed, but he gave them one last warning. "Remember what I said. The gold itself isn't the hard part. It's what the gold does to the minds of the men who find it." But Dobbs and Curtin didn't listen. They only saw the dream of a golden treasure. They saw themselves as rich men, not as the desperate, hungry men they were. Together, the three very different men, the nervous Dobbs, the younger Curtin, and the wise but eccentric old Howard, boarded a train headed for the wild mountains. Their adventure and their test was just beginning.